Hello, my name is Ethan Miller. You can just call me Ethan. Today I want to share a story with you. It's my story, Sophie's story, our story, a Christmas story where love, sacrifice, laughter, tears, and a little bit of madness all blend together into one. Are you ready? Grab a cup of tea, wrap yourself in a blanket, because this story comes straight from my heart. Let's begin. Part 1. The little apartment in Brooklyn, where it all began. The year was 2024. New York City, early December. A worn-out old building in Brooklyn. Third floor. Apartment number 3B. On our door, a small nameplate read, Miller Miller. Sophie had written it by hand, on white paper, with a black marker. The letters were slightly tilted, but beautiful. When I first saw it, I laughed. We're newlyweds, but this looks like something old couples have. Sophie giggled and said, "That's the point. We'll grow old, but the name will stay the same." When I first saw the apartment back in 2021, Sophie said, "Ethan, it's small, but it's perfect for us." I smiled and said, "As long as you're here, the whole world feels small to me. 2 rooms, 1 bedroom, 1 living room." The kitchen was so tiny that when both of us stood there, our elbows touched. The bathroom heater worked, sometimes. On cold mornings, when the water ran icy, Sophie would scream, "Ethan, the heater's on strike again." And I would laugh. Then I'd hold her cold hands in mine and say, "Don't worry, I've got you." Once she said, "This heater is just like our relationship, sometimes hot, sometimes cold, but never turned off." I hugged her tight and said, "And I'm always hot for you." She laughed and kissed my cheek. That little place, it was our world. Photos filled the walls. One frame showed us both holding coffee, smiling. It was taken under the Brooklyn Bridge at sunset. Sophie said, "Ethan, the picture feels like our first date." Another photo showed her long hair flying in the wind, taken in Central Park. That day we'd gone for a picnic, sandwiches, cold coffee, a little speaker playing soft music. Sophie had said, "Ethan, I'll never forget this moment." And I said, "Neither will I." I worked at a small marketing firm in Midtown. Good team, decent work. Salary? About $4,800 a month. In New York, that's barely enough. Rent, $2,200. The rest, food, bills, subway card. But I never complained, because when I came home, Sophie was there. Every evening, as soon as I opened the door, she'd come running, hug me tight. One look at her smile, and the whole day's stress would disappear. She was my sunlight. One day at work, I sat staring at my laptop, pretending to type, but my mind kept saying, I need to do something special for Sophie. I opened her Instagram. Her page, Sophie Skis, 5,000 followers. She painted, and one of her paintings showed us under the Brooklyn Bridge. She had written in the caption, "Our story, Part 2, Sophie, my light, my everything." Sophie worked at a coffee shop, Bean Brew, in Williamsburg. Morning shift, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. She was a barista. For her, making coffee wasn't just work. It was art. And customers came not just for the coffee, but for her smile. Sometimes I'd visit her at the end of her shift. She'd hand me a free latte and that same sweet grin. One morning I watched her from a corner. A customer said, "Your smile makes my morning better." Sophie laughed. "Thank you, sir. Here's your coffee." And I thought, that smile, she's mine. Her that hair, black, thick, down to her waist. When she let it fall loose, it felt like the curtain lifted from a dream. Every morning, she brushed it while I sat on the bed watching. She knew I was looking, and she'd still smile. Once she said, "Ethan, my hair is my biggest pride." I replied, "Mine too." She laughed. "If you're a fan of my hair, then I'm a fan of your watch." My watch gold, old, precious. A gift from my father before he passed away. He had told me, "Ethan, this isn't just a watch, it's a story of time." I never took it off. Office, meetings, subway, everywhere. Sophie would often say, "Ethan, your watch is beautiful." And I'd smile. Part 3. The days before Christmas. When the city woke up. From early December, the city began to change. Lights everywhere. A giant Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center. Shops filled with decorations and sales. People rushing to buy gifts. Sophie and I both knew this Christmas would be special. It was our third Christmas since we got married. Oh, but money was tight. My bonus hadn't arrived. Tips at her cafe were low. We sat at the table, did the math. Gift budget, $50 total, for both of us. Sophie said, "Ethan, let's do something together this year." "Yeah," I said, sure." But deep inside, I thought, I want to get her something truly special. One evening, we went to Rockefeller Center. The tree, the crowd, ice skating. Sophie held my hand and said, "Ethan, one day we'll skate here together." And I promised, we will. The light from the giant tree reflected on her face. Her eyes shimmered like they were holding dreams. And I thought to myself, for this girl, I could give up everything. Part 4. My watch, my father's memory, December 20th. At the office, laptop open, mind elsewhere. All I could think about was, I want to buy Sophie something special. I remember that day on Fifth Avenue. She'd stopped in front of a store window. Inside, a set of golden combs, tiny diamonds sparkling. Price, $180. She said softly, "Ethan, this is my dream." I smiled, but in my heart I whispered, "Someday, I'll buy it for you." I looked at my wrist, at my father's watch, and a thought struck me. If I sell this, I could make her dream come true. Part 5. The decision. The day I sold my watch, December 22nd. After work, I took the subway to Harper's Vintage Gold, an old shop in Brooklyn. The owner, Mr. Harper, about 70, with round glasses. I showed him the watch. He examined it closely, then nodded. "Good piece. I'll give you minus 180 gone. $20 left in my pocket." But my heart felt light. Part 6. Sophie's secret plan. The one I didn't know about. I had no idea. Sophie was planning something too. She loved her hair. It was her pride. But she also knew how much my watch meant to me. So one afternoon, she walked into a salon called Luxury Hair Extensions. She asked softly, "Would you buy my hair?" The stylist looked, touched her hair, and said, $200. Sophie cried, but said, "Okay, I'll take it." She cut her long black hair short, very short, then went straight to a jewelry shop. There, she bought a gold chain for my watch. Price, $195. Part 7, Christmas Eve. When everything changed, December 24th. Evening, the city glowing, music everywhere, people laughing in the streets. I rushed home, gift bag in hand, heart full of excitement. Oh, when I opened the door, Sophie stood there, her hair short, eyes full of fear, but a smile on her lips. She ran to me. "Ethan, please don't be mad. I sold my hair to buy you a gift." I froze, then smiled. "Sophie, I sold my watch." Her eyes widened. I handed her the bag. She opened it, the golden combs. Tears rolled down her face. She laughed and cried at the same time. Then she gave me a box. Inside, a gold chain. I smiled through the tears and said, "Looks like both our gifts just went on vacation." Part 8, Christmas Dinner, where we laughed and cried. We cooked dinner together. Pasta with homemade sauce. A tiny cake from the bakery around the corner. Under the Christmas tree, 2 gifts beautiful, but now useless. Yet we laughed. Sophie said, "I thought you'd be angry." I said, "How could I? You cut your hair for me." She smiled, leaned on my shoulder, and whispered, "Merry Christmas, Ethan." Part 9, Christmas morning, a new beginning. Morning came. Soft winter light through the window. Sophie sleeping beside me. Hair short. Smile the same. I whispered, "Sophie, you're still beautiful." She opened her eyes and smiled. We made coffee. Opened the window. Snow was falling. The city was quiet. And for a moment, everything was perfect. Part 10, What We Learned. 2 young souls. Not much money, but endless love. The real Christmas gift? Not the combs, not the chain, but love, sacrifice, and understanding. They realized that love isn't just about giving gifts. It's about smiling together, even when you've lost everything, because somehow you've still gained it all. That's the end of my story. But what about yours? Who would you sacrifice for? Tell me in the comments. And if you love learning English through stories like, subscribe, share. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching Best Power English.